Hello and welcome to this Ordr video. My name is Chris Westfall. I head up product marketing here at Ordr, and today I'm joined by Srini Loke. He's our VP of product management. Srini, welcome to the video.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. We have an exciting topic today. We're going to talk about Ordr and ServiceNow integrations, specifically our latest and greatest integration with ServiceNow and the Service Graph connector. And we'll talk a little bit about things that we've been doing, integrating with the CMDB and the ITSM from ServiceNow. But I'd like to start off by talking about the need for accurate asset inventory, why it's critical and why it's specifically critical to security.
Yes, thank you, Chris. This is very important, right? We have seen a lot of customer sites where they do not have a complete inventory of what is connected in their network. And the reason why asset management is very critical is you do not know what is connected in your network. We have seen instances where there are banned manufacturers connected into the network. There were devices that were recalled by FDA or connected in the network. And there were devices that were running expired certs or unsupported operating systems. And all of these are opening up holes in security. So it is very important to understand what your assets are and also to understand the risk associated with those assets. And what Ordr and ServiceNow is going to provide you is that complete holistic visibility of where your assets are, what is in my asset database, and how do we make sure that we mitigate and manage the threats for these assets.
And this is super important given the volume and variety of devices in most environments and really the dynamic nature of these devices. A lot of them are on wheels. They get moved around an organization. They're connected to or disconnected from the network. So trying to accomplish this manually is really, really difficult to do, but it's, again, critical. It's a critical need from a security standpoint and even from a device management standpoint or asset management standpoint. So together, Ordr and ServiceNow, our goal here is to deliver a complete asset management and risk reduction solution and optimize those workflows with accurate data and real-time data. So we have three main integrations we'll talk about in this video, integrations with ServiceNow, two of them with the CMDB, one with the ITSM. Srini, do you want to go into these in a little bit of detail, please?
Yeah, just a quick clarification point, Chris. We had these integrations prior to Service Graph Connector, but what Service Graph Connector did is simplified the way we exchange data with ServiceNow. So the very first piece where we used to pull the data from, where we used to push the data into ServiceNow, ServiceNow will pull the data from Ordr using Service Graph Connector. That is a big difference. And and the second thing is we also pull the data from CMDB on all the assets that ServiceNow has, and including the additional context that we might not be able to see using the passive traffic. And the last set of data that we exchange with ServiceNow is about our vulnerabilities and threats. So this gives you visibility into what are the devices, where are the devices connected to, and what is the risk context of those devices. So the number one thing is it provides complete asset inventory of your network, including the vulnerability details, accurate system of record with real-time device data and asset reconciliation, and obviously complete visibility into threats, vulnerabilities, and ITSM workflow orchestration.
And when you think of it from a benefit standpoint, we mentioned, or Srini just mentioned, the ability to maintain a complete asset inventory. We help to automate that process with automatic discovery and classification and gathering of granular details for each and every asset that's connected to the network. We help to ensure data accuracy by leveraging the identification and reconciliation engine as part of that service graph integration. That process is automated to make sure that all the data that's being ingested into the ServiceNow CMDB is accurate and doesn't overlap or contradict what's already in there. Since we establish and maintain that accurate device inventory and all those details, we can help to streamline things like device management tasks and accelerate some of the security efforts. It's always important to be working off of current, up-to-date, accurate data for both device management and for security efforts. When it comes to compliance, gathering the details needed to answer auditor questions or compliance requirements, it can be a really daunting, cumbersome task, and we help to accelerate that or help to simplify that by automating the process of gathering all that detail and ensuring that you have an accurate system of record or source of truth, if you will, in the ServiceNow CMDB. And then finally, for customers in healthcare, we have device utilization insights that help customers better plan things like balancing of load or balancing of demand across available resources, planning of things like management and upgrade tasks for devices, so you make sure that you're not disrupting services, and then even informing acquisition device or asset acquisition efforts or budget spend by understanding what capacity is available, and if you've hit your limits on capacity that require that you buy new devices. So a lot of great information that can be used by a lot of different teams once we have established that accurate source of truth in the ServiceNow CMDB. I want to dig a little bit more into the ServiceNow or the Service Graph connector for Ordr. Srini, do you want to talk about this slide?
Yes, surely, Chris. As I mentioned in the previous slide, right, ServiceNow Service Graph connector uses the pull model from Ordr. So the only thing that you need to do is get the ServiceNow app for Ordr from the store, open the API credentials, configure it, and it automatically pulls the data directly from Ordr for all devices that you are interested in. You have an ability to only get data for a certain set of devices or all devices. That is something that you have visibility into. And once the data comes in, the beauty of the Service Graph connector in the previous versions of the product, most of the medical devices were written to temporary tables, and the users had to write a reconciliation rules to actually write it to the CMDB tables. But in the latest version with Service Graph connector, what ServiceNow has provided an option to write medical devices directly into CMDB database. And on top of it, the amount of data that we can send to ServiceNow has increased tremendously. Because this is a pull model, we can send more information than what we were able to send with other models. We can send data about device information, including the rich context about how we discovered this device, how we classified the device using behavioral profiling, what is the model number, what is the operating system version, where is it connected to, and also on top of it, classification. What is the device category, what is the device group. Even though the medical devices are written to one CMDB table, we can provide this additional context, whether this is a infusion pump or this is a Baxter infusion pump, as part of the additional tags that are available. And on top of it, we can also send connectivity details so that, as Chris mentioned in the initial slide, most of these devices are mobile in nature. It would be very difficult to understand where these devices are. So that connectivity information also comes as part of this device details. And on top of it, Ordr has introduced new functionality called business functions, support center, and all of this data can also be sent through the Service Graph connector. So the amount of data, the number one is simplifying the process of exchanging data between Ordr and ServiceNow. And the second is the amount of data that is exchanged between ServiceNow and Ordr has gone up tremendously with Service Graph connector.
Yep, and a couple of requirements on the supported release side. From a ServiceNow perspective, we are supported, or the Service Graph connector for Ordr, that app is supported in the Tokyo and San Diego releases or newer. And on the Ordr side, Ordr 8.1 and newer will be required to take advantage of this integration. Can we dig a little bit into the asset inventory? When we're pulling asset inventory information from the CMDB, why we would do that and what that looks like?
Yes, that's a very important question, right? There is a lot of data that Ordr collects from the passive traffic that's seen on the wire, but there is certain data that we would not see that ServiceNow might have. For example, where is this device? Where is this asset being used? What is the cost center? What is the business function? Where is it connected to? Where is it used in the enterprise? What applications is it being used for? So that level of visibility is very important for Ordr to gather context. And on top of it, we can also provide the complete asset reconciliation. What it means is Ordr has discovered X number of devices, ServiceNow has discovered Y number of devices, Ordr added something based on the Service Graph connector to make sure that this source of truth is, and we close the loop continuously. We want to make sure that we have asset reconciliation.
Makes sense. All right, the third and final point of integration, again, this is something that we've had for some time now, but this is our ability to send alerts on vulnerabilities and risk from Ordr to the ServiceNow IT service management product. Srini, do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on here and why we would do this, or the benefit to customers?
Sure. The first thing that we spoke about is exchanging asset information, right? Making sure that the attack surface management is cleared. And the second step of it is to make sure that the risks and threats are analyzed for that particular assets. The number one thing is vulnerabilities, right? Majority of the devices, medical devices, cannot be scanned using active scans. So you need to detect vulnerabilities based on the passive traffic. We use multiple methods to detect vulnerabilities. And we also tell if that vulnerability has been exploited by active threat detection. And the way Ordr exchanges alert information with ServiceNow is something called event management system. It can automatically create tickets on ServiceNow for all the alerts that are selected over here. You see the rich context of 27 to 28 different types of alerts that Ordr detects. And user has an option to either select all of them or select some of them and create tickets and mitigate these threats on the ServiceNow side. And that's very important, right? It's not only important to understand the assets, but it is also very important to understand the threats and the vulnerabilities associated with these assets. The whole point of Ordr ServiceNow integration is to give the end-to-end context of where the assets are, what are the assets doing in the network, and what is the risk context of these assets.
Right, all super important, right? You can't effectively perform these security efforts, these mitigation and remediation efforts without the full context. You really need to understand not only a device is vulnerable, but the context of that device, so you can take the right action. You understand the impact to services. You might understand what policies you can create and enforce by understanding that context. And I'll say that window down below shows all the different types of alerts that we can send to ServiceNow. It's by default configured to send all of them, but you can pick and choose the ones that you want to have sent to that ITSM to alert teams and to kick off automation of some of the workflows so that those threats can be addressed. Well, Srini, thanks for taking the time to go through all these different points of integration with ServiceNow. I know we've been working with ServiceNow for some time now, but this new integration with their Graph Connector is super exciting. It should help really simplify how we integrate with ServiceNow and help our customers achieve that accurate source of truth in the CMDB. If you want to learn more about our integrations with ServiceNow, you can visit ordr.net/partners/ServiceNow, where we have a lot more information about everything that we covered here. And thank you very much. Thanks again, Srini.
Thanks a lot, Chris.